What scares you? What really scares you? My name is Sam Baltrusis. I'm the author of 7 historical-based ghost books, including 13 Most Haunted in Massachusetts and Ghosts to Salem, Haunts of the Witch City. During the day, I'm an author and journalist. At night, I moonlight as a paranormal researcher and write about the things that go bump in the night. I dig deep for the skeletal secrets buried beneath New England's blood-stained soil. I uncover secrets. Dark secrets. Tales of murder, mayhem, and madness that happened over a 300-year period. Every night from October 19th to Halloween, we'll take a haunted train ride to the allegedly haunted locations featured in my books. From ghosts to Boston haunts of the Hub, to 13 most haunted hotels and inns of New England. This is the 13 Nights of Halloween web series. Welcome to my nightmare. This is author Sam Baltrusis reporting from one of my favorite locations in New England, Salem, Massachusetts. We are getting ready for haunted happenings, and I'm telling you, it's going to be an amazing season here in Salem. So I'm the author of 8 historical-based ghost books. One of my books includes Ghosts to Salem, Haunts of the Witch City. If you haven't read it, you have to. It's more sort of my baby, and I still talk about it a lot, and I give lectures regarding my experience and my take on the Ghosts to Salem. So I'm right outside of the Witch Trials Memorial. That is not where the victims of 1692 are buried. This is actually a memorial for those victims, the 19 innocents who were hanged for witchcraft in 1692, and the one gentleman, Giles Corey, who was pressed to death over a 2-day period. The Witch Trials Memorial is where I was for 2 shows that are featured nationally. One was Haunted Towns on Destination America, where I talk about the ghost pig or spectral pig sighting that happened in 1692. I'm also on the Travel Channel in mid-October. So, guys, we're kicking off a 13-night series. It's called the 13 Nights of Halloween, and what better place to do it in Salem, Massachusetts. So I hope you join me on this journey. It happens every night, right on Facebook Live, 11:30 p.m., and we're going to have a new episode every night. So I will hopefully give you updates throughout the season in Salem, and I'll talk to you soon. So Catherine and I do tours in Salem together, and we do the Myths and Misconceptions tour. So when it comes to the myths related to the 1692 witch trials, what would you say are some of the biggest myths?
I mean, one of the biggest myths I think that people have, especially coming to Salem, is that everything froze in time.
Yeah.
That everything is just there, and they expect to see every little house and things, and they forget that things have moved on, and the witch trials was such a short time period in Salem's history. It was 9 months, and so to think that everything just sort of froze in time is really, you know, kind of funny to think. But I'm always trying to remind people, like, well, time moved on and things changed, and so it is a little difficult for people to understand sometimes because they hear so much about it and then show up and it's not what they expect.
I get a lot on my tours. People want to know where the gallows was
especially.
in Salem.
Mm-hmm.
So do we know where the gallows is?
I mean, there are historians that are doing research today. Until I see proof, I'm not really convinced. But they are doing a lot of research about the general area, but so much of the landscape, again, has changed that it is really hard to sort of pinpoint exactly where that area might be.
Well, the local legend, or like the thing is, we've known for years, and it's behind a Walgreens, actually, where it's called Proctor's Ledge, and that's where they supposedly pinpointed it, but as you and I both know, that's probably not a sexy location.
No.
Not at all. Behind the Walgreens. But, so speaking of Salem, like because you live in Salem, like what are some of the things, like advice to people coming to Salem for Halloween? What would you recommend?
Definitely don't drive in. Take the train.
Take your broom, maybe.
Yeah, maybe fly in. That's the best idea. It is very difficult, you know, getting around, but I think, you know, prepare that you are going to wait in line for a lot of things, and, you know, just make sure that you have enough money. There's a lot of things to do.
I think in Salem, like my recommendation is to go not on Halloween. Go like the week before, go the weeks before. I'm giving a tour called the Salem Curse Tour. So we're going to go to the Gardner Pingree house, which is where Captain Joseph White was murdered. And that's like a 1800s era crime. And that's kind of my garb is 1800s era. So That's interesting. And then we're also going to talk about things in addition to the Salem witch trials. I'm so excited to actually focus on something other than what happened in 1692.
Yes.
So it's kind of exciting.
Well, we bonded a lot on the history, and I feel like that things have changed. So when I first started covering Salem and started doing tours in Salem, there was a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, I mean, there still is to a degree, but, you know, I think there's been a lot more people trying to get the real history out, which is good.
And I feel like Catherine is part of that new generation. I think the younger generation is really going to the source material. And, you know, coming in, so you grew up, so tell me like your background with Salem and what led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Salem my whole life, and my dad is part of an organization that runs the Rebecca Nurse Homestead in Danvers. And we went there all the time as kids and never really knew, you know, about the witch trials. We knew Rebecca Nurse, but I didn't know who she was. And in second grade was the tercentenary of the witch trials. And I got really sort of into it because all these books came out, and I started reading about it. And my first job was working at her homestead as a tour guide. So I learned a lot about the witch trials, and I read a lot of books, and it's just sort of been absorbing since I was 14 and just building up more information about it.
Your working with you like really exposed me to sort of like the backstory of Rebecca Nurse. I think I focused more on like Bridget Bishop and Giles Corey, and not on Rebecca Nurse and on the sisters on Mary as well,
Yeah.
and Sarah Cloyce. So what are some of the things like? So you, what as a kid growing up, what are the memories that of the witch trials, and kind of learning about it, things that the epiphanies that you had along the way?
I mean, when you heard about it, you always know witches from, like, the TV shows and stuff, and you're like, oh, like, you know, the Wicked Witch of the West and things like that. But when you really look at these people were killed for being something they weren't,
Right.
really started to upset me as a child. And I was like, why would people be accused of something they didn't do? And it sort of led me to look more into, like, who were the people of the time, and why were they doing some of the things they were doing? Because to me, it just didn't seem, like, logical, you know, with my thinking. But when you really look back at who the Puritans are and what their beliefs are, I think it's easier to understand why it was happening, and I think that helped me a lot. And I think that's the problem a lot of people have coming to Salem, is not understanding who the Puritans were and looking at it today and saying, oh, that's crazy. And it is crazy to a degree, but it's very common at that time period for witchcraft and things to come about.
So I wrote my book, Ghosts of Salem, Haunts of the Witch City, and I focus a lot on ghosts. And I know one of when we get tours, we get history tours, so we don't give ghost tours, but I have given ghost tours in Salem. And I was always told, like, no ghosts, no ghosts, no ghosts. But I mean, have you had ghostly encounters growing up?
I mean, not necessarily to, like, the witch trials per se, but I mean, definitely growing up, I always noticed, like, strange things, all about, you know, just weird things that I could see that other people might not be able to see, and not realizing that it was weird.
Well, Salem was this weird period.
Yeah.
There's like I've seen so many things that I can't think of, like, all the crazy things I've seen over the years.
Oh yeah.
I was in the Common, and I saw a woman holding what I thought was a baby, and she was holding like a doll, and it was just like she was like rocking it back and forth. Like it was a doll. And I've seen people in the trees, and I've seen all sorts of things, and things buried in Howard Street Cemetery.
Oh yeah.
And I've had multiple ghostly encounters, and I had, even on my history tour, I couldn't get away from the ghosts. I had people on my tours like, oh, I saw, I was walking by Town Hall, and one of my guests on my tour swore that she saw someone wearing a Puritan garb with their face pressed against the window at Town Hall, like, listening to what I was saying. So I feel like the ghosts of Salem were listening while I was giving the tours, and hopefully liking what they heard.
I'm sure.
And so you focus a lot on the misconceptions, the myths and misconceptions related to Salem. What are some of those myths and misconceptions?
I mean, one of the main things, you know, people always assume that they were actually witches, and they weren't.
Right.
We get a lot of people that ask about burnings. And, you know, were they burned? Where were the witches burned? I'm like, well, they were hanged here, and then I have to explain the difference, why they were hanged versus burned. You know, a lot of people get the land grab theory, like, oh, they were accusing people to get land. I said, well, that'd be great, except women couldn't hold land, so the majority of the people being accused were women, so kind of doesn't work really well for that. You know, and the ergot thing drives me crazy.
Every tour I give, people ask about the ergot theory.
And they sound so smart. They're like, oh, I have this really great question to ask, and it's like, I know it's going to be ergot, I can just tell. And they're like, what about the wheat thing? And I'm like, A, it was rye, and B, no, and here's why. And I usually try to do really nice, but it's always like that one guy is like, hey, I watched this History Channel thing. I'm like, good for you.
That was from like the 70s,
Yeah.
Well, what is the ergot theory?
So a lot of people believed that they were eating this fermentation of the rye, which caused sort of hallucinations. And what they do with ergot today, well, they make it into LSD. And so someone in the 60s saw, people going crazy on LSD and said, oh, that must be about the witch trials, and looked into ergotism and said, oh, this fits, it really does. But they forgot that there were some aspects of it that just didn't fit into the puzzle pieces, that, things like ergotism causes necrotizing issues in your body, and basically your fingers would fall off, your nose, your ears, you'd have tremors your entire life. And these people were able to turn on and off their afflictions. These people would have had it for the rest of their life. And the Puritans weren't very dumb either. They knew what ergot was because they learned about it in England. They knew when it was on the plants and not to eat it. So a lot of theories, over the year, people have just sort of debunked it, but people, they believe that one time that they saw it. And a lot of books just mention it as passing, it may be the cause, but it's hard to believe that all of that was caused by, a little bit of rye that maybe they did or didn't notice was happening, but it definitely would have affected them long term, which wasn't the case with a lot of people during the witch trials.
Well, and there was also issues, like there was a lack of food. There was a famine going on, and there were people starving. And I think that may have added to sort of like the tumultuousness going on in present-day Danvers.
Yeah, especially with the Paris family. You had Reverend Paris's wife was always really ill, always in bed, which, Tituba and her husband, John Indian, were doing a lot of the work around the house because his wife could not do it. His daughter, Betty Paris, probably had similar issues to her mom, just not well. And what they did back then is when people were really sick is just starve them to sort of get the illness out, and that just makes things worse.
So you kind of grew up in ground zero of the Salem witch trials, which, and one of the big misconceptions is that Salem was just present-day Salem. It was Danvers, Topsville, Andover, all sorts of areas that were considered Salem.
Exactly.
And where it all happened was the Reverend Samuel Paris household, which is right, the foundation is near the Rebecca Nurse homestead.
It is, yes.
Every year, more than 1 million tourists visit Salem to experience witchcraft and sorcery firsthand. Brave visitors can start their trip at the center of town on Liberty Street. Here, they will find 20 rough-hewn slabs of stone marked with different names. Each is a somber shrine to those who lost their lives in one of America's darkest chapters. This is the Salem Witch Trial Memorial. But as tour guide Sam Baltrusis knows firsthand, the souls honored here are restless.
So it was June 10th, 2012. I was giving tours in Salem, and I was kind of taking a break between my next tour. I was kind of standing like at this point right here. And that's when I saw what I thought was a ball of light. I thought maybe it was a car light or a flashlight. But the ball of light got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it took the shape of a woman. I was thinking, oh my God, that's a ghost. The woman was wearing a gown, and it looked like it was like 1600s or 1700s garb. I was in shock. I thought she was coming after me. So I said, I gotta run. So I took my stuff and I ran as fast as I could.
The origins of this disturbing entity go all the way back to the Salem witch trials themselves. It's January 1692. The deeply Puritan community of Salem is in crisis. An epidemic of smallpox has decimated.
Oh my God, the actor they had play me was so hilarious. It was awesome. I'm cracking up.
But what they chose to run in that show really makes me laugh out loud. But I thought this was not live, but apparently it is live, and you got to see me on TV on the Travel Channel. Oh well, it was good. I mean, I think I think I looked good. I'm not sure about what I said, and I'm not sure about the actor who played me. But anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
This is Sharon Filliard for What's New Massachusetts. Here we are at Wicked Good Books, a bookstore located in the witch city of Salem, Massachusetts. We're about to speak to the co-owner, Miss Denise Kent, in just a moment. Here we are now with Miss Denise Kent, one of the owners of Wicked Good Books, located here in Salem, Massachusetts. Miss Kent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for being here.
Now, this is a wonderful location. Even coming here, you're looking up and down Essex Street. There are so many wonderful people enjoying the sun. What demographic does your bookstore cater to?
Well, we have our fantastic locals. Salem has a really great local downtown neighborhood. A lot of people live and work and play here. And we also serve a lot of visitors. You know, we have a lot of tourists that come to Salem for its history. So it's really two kind of very different demographics.
Indeed. Now, I know that our own Sam Baltrusis has a few of his books showcased here. Now, Salem is known for the witch trials. A lot of people come here during Halloween. So is the majority of your books, or a vast portion of your books, catered to the hauntings and, you know, evil spirits and witches?
Well, yeah, it depends on what people are looking for. We have a vast array of books that are about Salem's history, and that does include, of course, witch history. It also includes maritime history. You know, we have a really rich history in literature as well. Many local writers to the North Shore, and as well as our architecture, and we have just a beautiful, thriving city, and I think it's going through a real renaissance right now. And I embrace all of the parts of Salem history. That's what makes it special here.
Of course. Now, speaking of that architecture, your store. Now, you've done a great deal of renovations. You've altered the store, but can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, well, this store was a bookstore. It was a family bookstore for almost 40 years, and it was a used bookstore. People remembered it as having, you know, towering books going up to the ceiling, and those guys were retiring, and we were really concerned that there wouldn't be a general bookstore in Salem. And there had been another bookstore in Salem as well that had closed. So we sort of panicked and and decided to go into the bookstore business. And so here we are, and it's been a real labor of love.
That there's a hotel located somewhere nearby that's new.
There's a lot of new construction here in Salem, and yes, there's a hotel called the Hotel Salem that's being built right next door to us, and that's going to have outdoor dining, and it's going to have a rooftop restaurant. It's a boutique hotel. There's quite a few new construction projects going on, including a new restaurant around the corner. It's just a great place to come and eat and shop, and now we're going to have more hotel space so people can stay.
Now, that's very interesting. Now, just to give an idea to our viewers who are not familiar with the Salem area, how close are we to all of the historical sites and tours from Essex Street?
We are right in the center of everything. So Essex Street is sort of the heart of, you know, the dining, shopping, and historical section. And Salem is fairly walkable. I mean, you don't need a car. Come here by ferry, come here by train, and you can walk to all the good stuff.
See, and that's what's so amazing about this area. And we've done interviews also in Quincy, which is also a walking town. When you come to this area of Salem, it's one-stop shopping. You can come here, stay at a hotel, get something to eat, check out a few tours. It's beautiful. You can people watch and do everything right here. So Essex is the main artery, would you say?
Yes, absolutely.
That is so exciting. So where do you see Wicked Good Books? What direction do you see it going to?
Oh, I think that we're almost 3 years old now, and we keep going deeper into our Salem inventory. We really want to carry real depth and breadth of Salem and New England books, as well as general fiction and nonfiction. And we carry toys as well because, you know, we like to live in the imagination and book people.
Right, and children love toys, and like I'm kind of still a kid myself, so I like looking at the toys as well. Now, this is a tiny bit off topic. Do you have a favorite witch story that you can share with our viewers? A nice quick one.
There was a customer who came in with her baby and who insisted that there was a presence, a ghost in Town Hall, which is right around the corner from us. She said that her baby could sense the presence of supernatural beings, and that yes. And so I don't know. So that's just one of them.
Well, you must see a wide swath of different demographics that come into the store. Very, very tremendous location because you're right here, as you mentioned, in the heart of Salem. We encourage everyone to come on down and check it out. Wicked Good Books, located here on Essex Street, right here in Salem, Massachusetts. Denise Kent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. What a great time we had talking to Miss Denise Kent of Wicked Good Books right here in downtown Salem. You got to come down and check it out. Beautiful day. People are walking all along the street here. And I think I'm going to check out a book. What do we have here? By our very own Mr. Sam Baltrusis, The Ghosts of Salem. If you'd like to pick up a copy of this book, come on down and check it out.
Listen up, guys and ghouls. It's Sam Baltrusis, author of 8 historical-based ghost books, including Ghosts of Salem, Haunts of the Witch City. With Halloween creeping around the corner, I've unleashed my latest little monster, 13 most haunted hotels and inns of New England. From the Witch City's Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, to the spectacular Biltmore in Providence, to the bloodstained Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast in Fall River, I traveled all over New England in search of the 13 most haunted hotels. My new book is coming out October 2017. I hope you enjoy your stay.